The Bachelor finale confirmed my favorite theory about men rejecting women that they think are too good for them. And I used to not believe this because I'd be like, if someone was too good for you, why would you not like step up and want to make that person yours? Like, why would you leave or reject someone for being too good? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you must think that you're above them somehow. No. No, no, no. And this is not hate on Juliana. Like, she's obviously beautiful and super sweet. But the reasons that Grant stated for choosing her over Latia were really telling. Because when he was having that conversation with his dad, he was talking about how the only problem with Latia was that, like, her timeline was going to be too fast and he wasn't sure he was ready to be a father yet. But that doesn't really make sense because he literally came onto the show like, I'm ready to be a husband, I'm ready to be a father. And then he was presented with this woman who was mature and, like he said, knew what she wanted. And it was like too much for him. It was like all of a sudden too much pressure, even though it's literally exactly what he was looking for. Versus Juliana, he was like, oh, I have more fun with her. Like, yeah, obviously it's important to have fun with your partner, but like that shouldn't be your sole reason for choosing somebody. And also, like, even up until the literal last rose ceremony, like even up until the proposal day of, he was still like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this decision. And so he chose the easier option. Like, I'm sorry, but being fun and being light, that is just easier. He knew Latia was gonna be more challenging because she was going to require him to step up and be ready to be a real husband and a real father and start a family. All these things that he supposedly wanted really badly coming onto the show, but he got too overwhelmed to be able to accept it. He might regret this decision, he might not. Like, I'm sure him and Juliana are going to be happy. Not really sure about that actually, but that's, you know, like, that's none of my business. I just thought it was really interesting to see how he handled that whole thing because he clearly was leading both of them on, unsure until the very final moment. And then he chose the woman who was like a fun time, like the girlfriend vibe, over the woman who was literally ready to give him everything that he wanted. And I think Latia handled herself perfectly. Like, she had so much grace. Obviously, yes, like her demeanor changed and like she was scary and like her customer service voice went away, like blah blah blah. Yes, she was pissed off, but she's still like, she has so much respect for herself for her to be like, I'm just glad that this is over. Like, I want someone who's sure about me. Yes, everybody should want someone who's sure about them. And it's terrifying that Juliana went on an interview and said that she hasn't even watched the finale and she's not going to. Like, Grant obviously talked her out of watching it. Like, he literally settled for the easier option. I'm sorry, love Juliana, but like, it's, come on.
Saying bachelor men don't deserve to be happy is wild when you really think about it, because it reveals the assumption that a man's joy is supposed to come from service, sacrifice, and partnership, and when he finds fulfillment outside of that script, suddenly it's framed as selfish instead of self-aware.
Why aren't men getting married anymore? It's not because they hate love or they're against love. It's because the system is actually stacked against them. In 1960, 72% of adults were married, and today it's barely 50%. And among men under 30, it's pretty much nowhere. Here's why. Divorce courts, they'll take all of the man's money, they'll take the kids, they'll take the house. 90% of child custody goes to women, and men pay millions in child support and alimony every year. Then there's the happy wife, happy life culture where men sacrifice everything to keep the peace. Meanwhile, if a man wants traditional rules, it's labeled as toxic. So men naturally ask themselves, what is the upside? And for a lot of guys, there isn't one. It's not that men in general hate commitment. They hate commitment to a system that is designed to punish them for existing. Till marriage becomes a partnership and not a legal liability, men will continue to keep saying, no thanks. Do you think men are right to walk away from the thought of marriage, or do you think that marriage is still worth it? Let me know in the comments.
The outrage isn't about men being single. It's about men being single without suffering, because society was comfortable with lonely bachelors, but not with financially stable, emotionally grounded men who simply decided marriage wasn't mandatory.
No, males are not choosing,
Oh, yes, they are.
but I do find it hilarious how they are all like, yeah, we're done with women. That's why we're all single, because we chose to be done with women.
You know, if someone tells you something often enough, maybe you should start believing them because, yeah, a lot of men are just completely done with dating.
You guys didn't choose that. You know you didn't choose that.
Oh, but they did. What exactly is so hard to believe about that?
You know that right now women are becoming really picky and not choosing men that all they do is bring a paycheck.
Like I said before, there's a lot of women that are very upset that a lot of guys are actually choosing to be single because they want all of the power for themselves and to be able to dictate who they date. It is incomprehensible to some that guys actually can choose who to date.
Although there are still women out there who will accept that. And I suggest you go find them and leave us alone.
Oh, I don't think that'll be a problem at all because it's almost like personality types similar to some that we've just seen are almost the very reasons why a lot of guys are choosing to remain single.
For decades, men were told commitment would complete them. But now that millions are questioning the risk-reward ratio of modern marriage, the real panic is that they're not lining up to re-enter a system they don't trust.
What do you think about the men who choose to remain bachelors?
It's funny because I probably have that mindset this day and age. I just turned 44 today. Today is my birthday. But when I was in my early 20s, I thought about marriage and settling down. But now it's like the bachelor life is better. You know, people out here getting married and getting divorced a couple months later. So until you find true love and happiness, there's nothing wrong with being a bachelor.
If you've got a little black book of 3, 4, 5, 6 women that you can call, take care of everything you need on that Friday. Maybe you have one that dresses up nice and comes to the company picnic with you. Maybe you've got one that's just down and dirty and shows up in a high heels and a trench coat. Why would you give that up for marriage when you're going to get divorced? She's going to take the kids. She's going to take your money. And she's going to destroy you. There is no net benefit today for men to get married.
When men leave dating and marriage quietly, without public bitterness, it disrupts the narrative that they're incapable of independence, because walking away calmly is a power move most people don't expect.
A third of men, 33%, a little over a third, of men between the ages of 18 and 29 are not only single, but they're not actively looking for a partner. So I've got a question for the men. So my comments are filled with guys saying we're done. We're not looking. We like our peace. I need some more talk from you guys. Tell me why you're done.
You know, I'm seeing more and more of these videos, and honestly, it makes me sad because guys have told women why. We've made it very clear why we're walking away. And we're walking away in droves, and it's only going to get worse because you're not hearing why we're walking away. It's very simple. Don't read between the lines. Hear these words. There is absolutely no benefit anymore to being in a relationship with a woman for a man. None. Zero. Zilch. Especially when you consider the risk compared to any potential reward. Roughly 55% of marriages end in divorce and the guy loses everything. Add into it all the relationships where they weren't married and the guy lost access to his kids and had to pay mountains of child support and so on. When you really look at it, there's less than a 1 in 4 chance of having a successful relationship. Would you risk everything you have? Would you risk your children and having access to them, knowing you only had a 25% chance of success? I doubt it. Add to it the expectations that today's women have are beyond absurd. We all joke about the sixes, but the reality is that is most women's expectation. You expect men to give, and offer nothing in return. I'm not saying any of this to be mean, but I am being blunt in hopes you'll hear it, because we've said it over and over and over again, and yet you're still asking us, why are you walking away? That, in a nutshell, is the crux of the problem. You ask us, but you don't want to hear the response. And if you hear it, you don't want to accept it. My honest advice to you ladies is this. Get a mirror, look in it, and ask yourselves, what are we offering to men? Why should men want to be with us? And if your answer is things like you have a great career or job, or that you're going to cook and clean, none of that matters to us. Not in the least. What matters to us? Peace, loyalty, and acknowledgement. Something very, very few women give to their man. And until you're willing to give that, until you're willing to set aside your ridiculous expectations, those numbers you mentioned are only going to get worse.
You can't demand men step up, provide, protect, and commit at full capacity, then shame them for choosing peace when they calculate the emotional and financial stakes and decide it's not worth it.
Guys are really out here giving up half their shit and everything they've ever worked for in monthly payments in return for some sandwiches and some pussy. Literally, that's what it is, okay? And before you come for me, because some of you guys are gonna be like, nah, she's like my best friend. Yeah, you think that. Why don't you get in her phone? Why don't you go open up her phone and look through her fucking text messages somehow? You can't let her know you're doing it, and let me know what you think after that. Because she's got tons of other people she's fucking entertaining, even if you're fucking married. And that's the cold, hard fucking truth. Because women need constant validation. They need constant sources of male validation, majority of them. Sure, you might find a good one here and there, but that's like finding a fucking diamond on the sidewalk. It is a fucking anomaly, okay? And when it happens, we all look at it like it's a fucking unicorn. So next time you're thinking about getting married, just ask yourself some very logical questions, okay? Number one, is half my life's work and monthly payments worth getting some dinner made for me and getting some pussy on tap, okay? And also ask yourself, with this woman that's coming into my life, right? She's gonna get older every fucking year. That doesn't mean she's getting better. She's gonna look far different than what she looks like today, okay? And your money is gonna continue to grow. That's the reality of the situation. You will continue probably to get richer and richer and richer. She will continue to wither and wither and wither. So what type of fucking deal are you getting here? And if one day she decides to fucking leave, you're fucked. You're fucked. There's not a courtroom in America you will walk into and win in. You will give up everything you've ever worked for, and she'll keep coming back to court asking for more, saying it's not enough. How could she possibly survive on this? And the thought of her getting a job and supporting herself never crossed her mind. And nobody will ever ask her to do it, because why would they? You exist. So again, I will forever talk out against this, and I will advise all men to not go down this fucking route. It doesn't make any sense.
This isn't a rebellion fueled by hate. It's a recalibration fueled by math. Men are looking at divorce statistics, dating culture, and personal well-being, and choosing stability over social expectation.
Every time I talk to married men, they're trying to convince me not to get married. How is it that you have the woman of your dreams, but you convincing other men not to get married? Most men that's married don't want to be married, or they got married for the wrong reasons. They didn't get married because they genuinely wanted to. They got married because they just thought that was just the next steps that they were supposed to do. And then every time we have a conversation, they're trying to push me away from marriage. And then they're surprised by my response, because I'm heavy on I want to get married. I'm heavy on men being married. Only if these men's wives knew how they was talking about marriage behind their backs.
Bachelorhood used to be portrayed as immaturity, but now it looks like autonomy. A man investing in his health, wealth, hobbies, and friendships instead of tying his worth to relationship status.
Can you predict someone's divorce by their wedding?
I believe that sometimes the bigger the wedding, the more likely the divorce. That's been my experience. I have found that the bigger the ring, the bigger the divorce, and the bigger the wedding spectacle, the more likely the divorce, in my experience. Because there is something extremely performative about a wedding. And there's also something extremely narcissistic about a wedding. If you break down like the role of a bride in a traditional wedding, meaning its current iteration, it's an unbelievably narcissistic pursuit for a woman. We're going to do an engagement, which is you're going to give me a stone of tremendous value that I'm going to wear as a public display of the fact that I am now engaged in this commitment. And then I'm going to put that on social media. And then we're going to have an engagement party. Then we're going to have all of these activities around planning this singular day where I'm going to be the center of attention. And then I'm going to have a bachelorette party. Then we're going to have a rehearsal dinner. Then we're going to have the wedding. And then we're going to have a honeymoon, which is basically like a week of partying. Oh, I forgot the bridal shower, by the way. I forgot the bridal shower. Like, if this is really important to you, you're telling me a lot about yourself. You're telling me how important being the center of attention is to you and how much this performative thing is to you. Now, by the way, I'm not pissing on weddings. Like, I think having a wedding's great. Like, I think you should celebrate. Like, I love this person. They love me. We found each other. Party, take some pictures, have some drinks, do the dance, do the whole thing. It's great, man. But we've turned it into just a spectacle. I mean, the wedding industrial complex, man, it's a trillion-dollar industry. It's insane. It's insane. And again, catastrophically fails more than 50% of the time.
There's actual research showing that higher wedding spending correlates with higher divorce rates, especially when couples go into debt to fund it. But social media has introduced performance pressure into something that was meant to be private. Now it's not just Valentine's Day, it's Valentine's Day for the timeline, birthdays for the timeline, anniversaries for the timeline, Christmas for the timeline. And every year, that pressure escalates. Bigger gifts, bigger surprises, bigger displays. And if that escalation doesn't happen, people start questioning whether they love or whether the relationship isn't doing good enough. The most stable marriages, they're usually boring. They're predictable, they steady, they private. That doesn't mean that there aren't gifts. It means spectacle isn't the foundation. Marriage isn't loud, it's repetitive, it's discipline, it's alignment. When a relationship becomes dependent on public validation, it becomes fragile under private stress. And I personally know people who went into debt for massive weddings. They got divorced and were still making payments years later. Imagine sending monthly payments for a wedding with someone you're no longer married to. If the wedding is the peak of the relationship, the marriage will feel like a downgrade. Don't confuse visibility with value, and don't confuse spectacle with stability.
I'm not sure if anybody's ever thought of this before, but I really think that we need to start having divorce parties the same way that we have marriage parties. Like, it's occurred to me that I'm in my mid-30s, I'm going to one of my close friends' wedding right now, and he's kind of the last one. Like, I think after him, my wedding season is over, and I've officially entered into divorce season. And you know what? I'm excited. I'm excited for divorce season. Divorce parties could be a lot of fun if we really dissect it. For one thing, you got to get me a gift, because I got you a gift which was wasted away on your failing relationship. So you get me a gift and we'll have a real bachelor party. It's like you're re-entering back into the wild. Like, that is what a party should be. A bachelor party should be, right? I don't think that's crazy. And it should be a celebration of like, hey, instead of wasting decades of our life continuing down this path that wasn't going to work out, let's just call the spade a spade. I think there's a certain beauty in that. So I'm not sure if, like, I don't want to have the first divorce party, like, that's for sure. But if we can kind of start some kind of trend where, like, every time that a marriage doesn't work out, we go, instead of going like, we go, yay, let's hit Cabo or whatever. I think that's a better use of our money.
The loudest criticism of single men often comes from the fear that if too many men realize they're okay alone, the leverage in modern dating shifts permanently. That's all for today. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to press the notification bell so you get the latest updates from our channel.